Hi everybody, welcome to Devotions. It's the beginning of a new week. It's Monday and it's the last week of October. You know, the old Greek philosophers used to say, know yourself. I think it was Socrates who said, an unexamined life is not worth living. Well, Jesus told a story once about two men. The one examined his life, and I think the other one didn't know what was going on in his life. And I'd like to read that one to you. It's from Luke chapter 18, and we're going to read from verse 9. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus said this parable. Two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood up and prayed about himself. God, I thank you that I am not like other men, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and I give a tenth of all I earn. But the tax collector stood at a distance. He wouldn't even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. Well, it's so important to be a real person. And the difference between the Pharisee and the tax collector was that the Pharisee just wore a mask. He could see nothing wrong in himself. The only thing he thought about himself was how much better he was than anybody else, including the tax collector who was standing at the back of the temple somewhere praying. The Pharisee, however, was real. There was no mask. He knew that he'd done something, we don't know what, that he needed forgiveness for, and said, Lord, be merciful to me, a sinner. Much more in touch with who he was as a human being. You know, we've all got lives to live. It's so important that we don't wear masks. Imagine getting to the end of your life, as perhaps this Pharisee did, never really being in touch with who he truly was. Because, I mean, we are wonderfully made, but we have got a bright, light, happy, good side. But there are also other things in our lives that have been not so good and not so right, and things that we struggle with. We have our motivations. We have different motivations. We have things that we're satisfied with in our lives, things that we're not satisfied. There are things that we've done wonderfully right, and there are things where we've really blown it and made a mess. You know, we need to be in touch with who we are. And then not only to be in touch, but to embrace who we are. What is good, what is light and beautiful, but also sometimes the dark. We need to say this is who we are. And to be able to be honest with God about that. Because God can only deal with a real person. He loves us. He loves us just as we are. Of course, he wants to change us, and he wants to make us more and more Christ-like, because that is the standard by which we examine our lives, the perfect love and the righteousness of Jesus. Paul said once, we must work out our salvation with fear and trembling, because it is God who is working within us to will and to do his good pleasure. David prayed at the end of Psalm 139, search me, O God, know my heart, test me, know my anxious thoughts, see if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. It's not that we need to become depressed and feel hopeless about the things that we do wrong at times and make mistakes, but rather we bring them to God so that he can continue his work in us and enable us to become more loving, to be able to be more just, to be more faithful to him, to grow in our Christ-likeness, but also to be honest with him about the things that we struggle with, and then by his grace to obey him and to follow in his way. So, as we go into the days that lies ahead, don't be like the Pharisee. Don't wear a mask. Don't pretend that you are what you're really not, but rather be a bit more like the tax collector, who faced up to the fact that, he'd slipped up somewhere along the line, and he could be open and honest with God about that. And also, where it is necessary, for us to be open and honest about ourselves with other people as we discern when we need to share those kinds of things with people. Well, may God bless you, and may He give you the experience of freedom and liberation that honesty brings. May God go with you, and may you have a blessed week. Cheers for now.